I want you to picture the end of a pretty normal day. Work was fine, work class was fine, nobody gave you a hard time, which was always a plus. Dinner happened, nothing too fancy, just enough to fill you up. You might watch a show that was decent but didn't blow your mind. And now you're lying in bed, scrolling through your phone in the dim light. Your thumb flicks through reels after reels, a mix of funny clips and quick distractions. But somewhere in between all that content, a little thought sneaks in, quiet but insistent. Is this it? Not in a dramatic way. It's not like anything's wrong, and that's what makes it confusing. Your life's pretty good overall, but there's this nagging feeling that something's off, and you can't quite put your finger on it. Then, just as you're starting to think about it, the guilt kicks in. Who am I to complain? Other people have it way worse. So you push the thought back down, go to bed, and wake up another day that's just fine. If you can relate to that feeling, this episode is for you. Welcome to Self-Full, the show where we discuss self-awareness and learn to be on our own side. My name is Wilson. I spent years ticking off every milestone I was supposed to hit. The grades, the job, the apartment, and kept waiting for that moment when it would all feel like something special. And today we're digging into that weird, empty feeling that creeps in even when everything seems fine. That fine but hollow vibe. It may seem harmless, but this is exactly what propels people into one of two things. You either go numb and call it being an adult, or you burn down a perfectly good life trying to outrun it. By the end of this episode, you'll understand where that feeling really comes from, why chasing after more stuff doesn't solve it, and we'll go over 3 simple, actionable steps you can take. No need for a complete life overhaul or a 5-year plan. Just 3 little moves that flips that emptiness into awareness. Let's first figure out what this feeling really is, because it's kind of tricky. It's not exactly sadness. Sadness has a clear shape. You can usually point to what's bothering you. This is more like a flat, empty feeling. Life is happening all around you and you're just there for it. Kind of like watching your own life with a sound turned down a bit, if that makes any sense. Here's the weirdest part about it. It tends to hit people who seems to be doing everything right. You went to school, landed a job, or at least on the right track. You acted how you were supposed to, checked all the boxes, and even chased after your own goals. You look like a regular, functioning person. But then, out of nowhere, one night you find yourself feeling like you don't even recognize your own life, questioning what it's all really for, and why do you still feel empty about your life? It's like still having cravings after a big meal. You ate, and you know your stomach is already full, so why does your body still feel like it's craving something more? And almost nobody talks about it. Because saying it out loud feels ungrateful. Imagine telling a friend, my life is fine, but I feel empty. It sounds like a first world problem. It's like a rich person complaining about their poor. So people keep it to themselves. But honestly, it's kind of funny because half the people you know are lying in bed wondering the same thing. You are not alone. So many others are in the same boat. So 3 questions we owe ourselves. Where does this feeling come from? Why doesn't having a good life feels it? And what really does? So let's start with where it comes from, which leads us to point 1. You've been living in the hallway. Think about how you were trained to move through time from like age 5. Elementary school exists to get you to the next school. That school exists to get your grade up for the one after. Then that school exists to get you a job or another higher school, which is university. The job exists to get you a better job. The better job gets you the house. The house needs the promotion to maintain upkeeps, and then you retire, and then, presumably, you finally get to live at age 65 or 70 with a bad knee or a heart condition, and not having enough energy or the health to experience anything that you wanted to experience. Have you noticed it? Every stage of your life was presented as a hallway to the next room. Nobody ever taught us how to arrive. There was no class, no lecture on being in a moment. Only classes on getting to the next one. So here's what happens when you hit the milestone. You get the offer, the grade, the apartment. Your brain gives you a good feeling for, a day, an afternoon, 20 minutes, and then it does the only trick it's ever practiced. It looks for the next hallway. There's actually a name for this, the arrival fallacy. It's the false belief that reaching the goal is what's finally going to make you feel full. It doesn't, because the goal was never the problem. The emptiness isn't coming from what your life is missing. is coming from where your attention is standing. Your attention is permanently posted in a future that keeps moving. And feeling alive, the thing that you're missing, only ever happens in the present. That's the only place it's sold. So a life spent in those hallways might seem okay on paper, but feels pretty empty emotionally. Nothing is wrong. You just aren't fully experiencing any of it. So what do we do about this? And here's the first tool. Spot the hallway. For the next few days, pay attention to a specific kind of thought that pops up in your head. I call it the hallway sentence, and it usually sounds like this. Once something happens, then I'll finally feel good. Once exams are over, then I'll get to chill. Once I landed that job, then I'll feel settled. Once I move out, then life actually starts. When you catch one of these thoughts, and trust me, they're coming all day, don't fight it. Just quietly tell yourself, there's the hallway. That's all you need to do. Here's what that looks like in a scenario. Imagine you've been going after an internship for a year. You've been rewriting your resume, prepping for an interview, the whole deal. Then one Tuesday, you finally get the email. You got it. You call your parents and you feel on top of the world for about half the night. Later, you're in the shower and it suddenly hits you. It's weirdly quiet and that flat feeling is creeping back in. Your mind starts to monologue. Okay, once I actually start and prove myself, then it will feel real. But this time, you catch that thought midair and you realize, there's the hallway. Nothing dramatic happens, but for the first time, you actually see the trapdoor under every finish line, and you just watched it open. Here's what's happening. A thought only has power over you if it's flying under the radar. The hallway sentence has been running in the background of your mind like an app you never open but can't close. The moment you notice it and name it, it shifts from the background to the forefront and loses its grip on you. You don't have to stop the thoughts itself. Just noticing it is a win. I remember many years ago, there was a job that I chased for a while. Specific titles, specific kind of company. It was the whole plan. My whole plan. It didn't take too long, but one day the offer came in and I did the celebration thing. I told people, ate at fancy dinner, and that night I sat at the edge of my bed and checked in with how I felt. And the answer was nothing? Like just a big shrug. And then I felt guilty about feeling nothing, which was a fun bonus. The next morning while I was brushing my teeth, I thought to myself, once I get through the first 6 months and they will see what I'm capable of, I'll feel like I've made it. But during my 6 years at that job, it felt like I was just passing through one hallway after another. And I didn't even realize it until one day, another morning when my mind was already showing me the next hallway. I don't know what hit me. Maybe it was frustration or just tiredness from feeling so empty. I looked at myself in the mirror and said out loud, once I finish this project at work, I'll finally feel like I've earned it. And as I said it, it struck a chord within me and I laughed out loud because I finally understood what had been going on all those years. I recognized the pattern, my pattern. My brain was presenting me with one hallway after another. It was never going to let me arrive. The whole idea of arriving was never part of the plan. I just never realized it until then. So now that you can spot the hallway, that's the first tool and it changes what you notice in your day. But it does bring up a tougher question. If the next check mark, if the next achievement isn't what the emptiness is really after, what is it exactly asking for? Which brings us to point 2. The emptiness is a signal, not a verdict. You know that feeling of still having cravings after a big meal? Let's break it down. When you want to eat something after already eating a lot, it usually means that the meal was filling but didn't have something your body really needs. That signal isn't wrong. It's just super specific. It's not about wanting more food. It's about needing that missing piece. And that empty sensation is not a judgment call. It's not about your life being off track or you being flawed. It's just a hunger signal. What it's really pointing is this. You're not craving a bigger life. You're craving moments where you are truly present, being in the moment, really experiencing life, even if it's just for one day. But check out what the world tells you to do to fix that emptiness. Every social media feed you scroll through screams that the answer is to go bigger. Quit your job, move to a new country, transform your body, start fresh in a new city, or become a completely new person. And sure, sometimes life do need a bit of a shakeup, but you can still feel empty while lounging on a beach in paradise. Lots of folks do. They just took the same old mindset to a prettier place. Here's what's really going on. When nothing pulls your focus away from your own story, your goals, your timeline, your am I doing enough thoughts, every moment ends up being measured instead of enjoyed. And trust me, a measured moment always feels flat. That measuring stuff is what flattens everything out. That's where the emptiness comes from. So how do we actually feed the real hunger without throwing everything away and move to Bali? And here's your second tool. Go get small. For once or twice a week, find something that makes you feel genuinely small and spend 3-4 minutes just taking it all in. Phone put away. Look up at the night sky. Visit the ocean if you can. Watch a storm roll in. Even listen to a piece of music that stirs something inside. Allow yourself to feel small on purpose. Here's what it might look like. Say you're at a dinner with friends and everything feels pretty great. The food is good and people are sharing laughs and you're laughing along just like you should. But somehow you're also a bit detached. Kind of like you're floating about a foot outside of the whole scene, feeling empty in a room full of folks you actually enjoy. But on the walk home, instead of just cutting through it directly, you decided to take the long way home, strolling alongside the water. You stopped and take a moment, leaving your phone in your pocket, and it's just you, the dark river in front of you, and a massive expanse of sky above. 3 minutes pass by. That empty feeling doesn't completely go away, but it starts to loosen up, kind of like a stubborn jar lid finally giving a little. But you start to notice something you haven't felt all week. This moment feels like a place. It's not just a quick stop on your way to whatever comes next. It's a moment to really be present. And for now, that is enough. And here's the cool part. Research shows that feeling awe can quiet all the self-focused noise in your brain. When you stand next to something vast, your problem feels smaller because for a few minutes, you're not the center of it all. And surprisingly, feeling small can be a relief. The pressure of being the main character, the one whose life has to make sense, it slowly disappears. What you're left with is just being there, being in the moment. And that's the exact thing you've been missing. And there was a time in my life when everything felt really flat and it got really loud. On paper, everything seems fine, which only made it worse. And one night, I just couldn't handle being in my room anymore. So I jumped in my car and started driving without a clue where I was headed. It's pretty much a crisis for a guy like me who usually need a plan to step outside. I ended up on this empty road by a little hill with no streetlights around. I got out of my car, climbed up to the hill, and just stood there. The sky was clear. I could see the whole night sky, and the Milky Way was barely visible. This massive, ancient thing just hanging above my head, completely unaware of my life or my plans. But instead of feeling lonely, something in my chest relaxed a bit. All week, I was stuck in a story that was going nowhere. But for those 3 minutes under the night sky, I got to be a small part of something way bigger, and it felt like a huge weight lifted. It didn't fix anything, but it was the first time in a long while that I felt like I was enough just the way I was. That's when it hit me. The feeling of enough was always there. I just never took the time to find a place where I could really feel it. Now you can spot the hallway, and you know how to get small to get what the hunger really wants. Plus, you've had a glimpse of what satisfies it. But just having a taste is like weather. It comes and goes. The last piece is figuring out how to create a climate, turning that nice moment into a regular part of your week, which leads us to point 3. Do one thing for nothing. Let me point out something sneaky that's happening to the society today. Everything became a means to something. Hobbies became side hustles. Workout becomes a numbers game. Cooking became just another opportunity to create content. Reading turns into a yearly goal to brag about. Even resting was rebranded as recovery so that nap of yours could enhance your productivity. Somewhere along the line, it feels like every little part of life picked up a job. And if every corner of your life has a job, then the hallway owns all of it. There is no room left where you just exist. No wonder the moment feels thin. Each one is busy being useful, trying to prove its worth. And here's the reframe this whole episode has been walking towards. You won't find meaning at the end of your to-do list. Meaning develops in that one area of your life that isn't tied to any end goals. It's not something you discover. It's something you create during times that is just for living with no strings attached. And this is the third tool. Do one thing for nothing. Pick one activity, at least 30 minutes once a week that produces nothing. It doesn't get posted. It doesn't get tracked. It can't make you money and is not aimed at improving you. Cook something and let it be eaten with no photos taken. Try your hand at drawing even if it turned out bad. Take a walk without any destination or counting steps. Play around on an instrument without any goal of getting better. Then treat that time like a real appointment, because it is. It's a date with your own life. Here's a scenario. You set aside Sunday at 4 o'clock for some homemade dumplings, just because folding dumpling is oddly satisfying for you. Not because it's cheaper or for some social media post. You leave your phone in another room. A few minutes in, your hands are all floury and the nagging thought pops up. This will make a great content. Just wait until your food looks better and then it will be worth filming. But then you catch yourself right there. There's the hallway, and let that thought pass. You keep folding dumplings, even the next one is a bit wonky. No one will ever know it existed. By the time you're on the 15th not so great looking dumplings, you realize you're back in the moment. Not watching yourself, but soaking up the fantastic smell in the kitchen, enjoying a Sunday that isn't tied to anything. And then you finally realize that what you've been doing for the past 30 minutes was what living in the moment looks like. And here's why this works. Your brain has spent years learning that moment only counts if they deliver something. That's the habit the hallway builds. And this approach reverses it, rep by rep. Each time you have a something for nothing session, it sends a clear message to your nervous system. A moment can be whole and fulfilling without needing anything in return. Do it weekly, and enough becomes more than just an idea. It turns into a lived experience that your body can recall anytime. And I'll be honest, I was terrible at this. When I first tried it, which was very recently, I chose something totally useless. I tried writing with my left hand. I'm right-handed, and that was the point. I sit at my desk with a cheap notebook and copying stuff. Song lyrics, book lines, whatever. In a messy, shaky handwriting that was barely legible. Exactly what I wanted. I mean, there was no way that this was turning into anything serious. For a couple of weeks, it was pretty fun. But then by week 3, my left hand started to improve a little bit. The letters start to look a bit more decent. And within a minute and a half, my brain had already built this whole idea. Before and after pics. A 30-day writing challenge. Maybe even a post about what writing with my left hand tells me about my brain. I was coming up with content plan for my scribbles. That one little time in my week that was meant to be for nothing turned into, once my handwriting is good enough to show people, then this will really mean something. See, there's the hallway creeping back in. Very thing I tried to keep out. I had to actually stop writing and announce it out loud, like a total weirdo all by myself. This is for nothing. I wish I could just say it never came back, but it did. Some weeks it still gets to me, and I totally skip those moments. But on most weeks, that half an hour of awkward left-hand writing is genuinely the best 30 minutes I have. Not because the page mattered, but because it's my little escape from everything. The only place in my week where nobody else's expectation shows up, and my life is the only thing happening there. And somewhere in those pointless 30 minutes, something finally clicked for me about that nagging question from the end of a usual day. That quiet, is this it feeling in the dark used to seem like an alarm signaling something was off in my life. But it's not that at all. It's just my life trying to get my attention, asking me to reconnect with it. Now, there's something sneaky that might have happened in the last 20 minutes. Your brain may have quietly come up with a new hallway thought, and it sounds like this. Once I can see the hallway, once I can remember to get small, once I find my something for nothing, then I'll finally feel at peace. Did you catch that? Even the way out can turn into another hallway. That's how good your brain is at creating them. So let's clarify this because it really ties everything together. The hallway isn't your enemy. You are not broken for standing in it. Not at all. That part of you that's always planning ahead is just doing its thing. It's how you got through school, how you showed up for others, and how you take care of future you. It's like your immune system. You don't want it to disappear. You just don't need it calling all the shots. The goal was never to escape the hallway completely. No one lives outside of it all the time. The aim is actually smaller and kinder. It is to notice when you're stuck in it. Here's the cool trick behind everything we talked about today. The moment you realize that you're in the hallway, you are already back in the present. Noticing can only happen now. It's the one thing your brain can't save for later. You don't have to fight with the hallway, try to fix it, or beat it. You just have to recognize it. And that recognition is the real thing. Peace doesn't wait for you on the other side of these 3 tools that we covered earlier. It shows up the instant you catch yourself reaching for it. And listen, The first week would be clumsy. You'll catch the hallway sentence 3 hours late, lying in bed replaying the day. But that still counts. Just realizing late is still a step forward. It's like building a muscle. Those moments where it feels like you're just passing time might seem uncomfortable or like you're slacking off, but that itch isn't a sign of failure. It's just your old habits pushing back. You don't have to fight it, just simply noticing it, and that is enough. If any part of this episode resonated with you, pass it on to someone else who might be silently pondering the same question. You probably know just the person. And also, I genuinely want to hear about what you pick for your something for nothing. The weirder, the better. If you'd like to share it, hit me up on my Instagram at @SelfWillPodcast or leave it in the comment on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. In the meantime, why not take the long way home tonight? Find a spot with a wide open sky and just be. And remember, I'm always here for you. Take care.